This nibble originally aired on RSBNB Update, episode 873, Tendrils to the Soul. Enjoy. Smoke tendrils. They teased that something was on the way with this one, and the quote they start this off is, "It's not a bug, it's a feature." So,
oh boy.
Yeah, this is going to require a bit of explanation, so I'm going to read through this and then we'll parse it out. So, if you've been
prior to your explanation, Shane, I think it's important for listeners that, as we talk about every time I come on, Mage is just really desperately in need of more buffs. So I think it's great.
Right?
Every time I come on, it's like Mage gets another buff, and I think it's important that Magic keeps getting buffed and buffed and buffed, because, you know, it's not good enough to be twice as good as the other styles. We need to push that further beyond.
He's being sarcastic, everyone. This is more Magic power creep.
We gotta hit Ultra Instinct for Magic.
All right. So if you've been using Smoke Cloud or the Staff of Armadyl since their recent introduction, I assume they mean Fractured Staff of Armadyl since they call it recent, you may have happened upon a hidden bonus that they both work with the Smoke Tendrils ability to guarantee a critical strike. While this feature wasn't originally intended, it's led to some interesting interactions that we rather like, Jagex says. So, we made some changes to ensure the critical strike functionality is part of the Smoke Tendrils ability itself, rather than a bug. Oh boy. Strap in, everyone.
Damage. Yeah, so the way it was before, Smoke Tendrils, for whatever reason, every time you used it, it crit. That meant that every hit of Smoke Tendrils, which you can hit up to 4 times, inside a Staff of Armadyl spec, would produce an auto attack. Those auto attacks could then crit, etc. It was never intended. It wasn't intended in the sense that the tooltip never said Smoke Tendrils is guaranteed critical strike.
No.
Obviously, each critical hit of Tendrils would also interact with Tsunami, so that it would give you 10% adrenaline. So each hit of Smoke Tendrils, 4 of them, is 10% adrenaline and guaranteed auto attack. So 40%. So you use Smoke Tendrils, you get back 40% adrenaline, you get 4 guaranteed autos. Those 4 guaranteed autos then have a chance to do autos. Those autos then have a chance for more autos, etc.
And doing the autos is part of the Fractured Staff of Armadyl, of course. But with this, with Smoke Tendrils now, even if you're just using Smoke Tendrils itself, it's going to crit on each hit and provide you that adrenaline bonus for Tsunami as well. We need to make that 100% clear on this, why it's being normalized. Also with this, damage is now calculated in a more standardized way. It will no longer give adrenaline twice per hit when affected by a Tsunami, which is fine. You could say that was probably too much. It'll also both be affected by the Precise and Equilibrium Invention perks, which, throw back to our perk micro lesson, 2 of the cheapest perks that you can get that provide you some of the best benefit out there. This now affects what you're witnessing with Smoke Tendrils. Each hit gives a critical strike reliably. Damage inflicted on the player is now calculated separately from the damage dealt, which means you won't get walloped as with the actual crit numbers. It'll be more standardized. And a critical strike that increases damage into the top 95% can still occur through the Biting Invention perk and other bonuses. So even if you don't get these guaranteed critical hits, but you hit really high, you can still get extra crits off this. And one thing I want to point out is that each of these hits now is also going to be interacting with your Channeler's Ring too, right?
Yeah, and I still think that at places where Reavers works, just like camping Reaver is your best bet, but it could be, I'm not sure what the math is, it could be that it is worthwhile to switch for Channelers just for Smoke Tendrils.
How many times does it hit, 3 or 4?
It depends how long you let it go. So most people either cancel after 2 hits or 3 hits, depending on their rotation. But you could let it last for all 4 hits.
So anywhere then you're looking between 8 and 16% critical strike chance that builds up if you're using the Channeler's Ring on this, in addition to the guaranteed crits.
Right. So it's a buff to the Channeler's Ring at places where you don't have 100% accuracy. So think like Telos, for example.
I think we need to sit down here. This feels like this has just catapulted this ability beyond the other two tendrils.
Well, I would say that this is more or less how Tendrils was working before. But instead of it being a bug that's getting removed, it's a bug that's getting affirmed and buffed because it works with precise and equilibrium, which makes it even more powerful. So I would say that it makes Mage a little bit more powerful, but it also removes any concerns that this gets taken away because it's a bug and it is now, cast in stone as a feature.
Did I make a mistake last year buying Greater Ricochet and the entire range setup?
No, because ranged is still very good at a few bosses. It's much easier to learn than Magic. Right. And Magic has a 6.5 bill entry point versus ranged.
That's true. Because, I mean, we talk about Magic being OP and whatnot, of course, but we're also, with that, assuming that if people have the Fractured Staff, which is probably still about 5 bill, I'd say, right? Ish?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you also got to throw Magma Tempest on there as well. We talked about that. It's not as broken as it was before, but it's still, I think you guys said, in the top 3 of the base Magic basics, right?
Yeah, Fractured Staff of Armadyl is about 5.3 bill. Greater Chain's around 750 mil. Magma Tempest is around 1.2 bill. And then Seismix is another 1.2 bill or so, 1.5 bill. So you realistically need about 10 bill to create a really strong Magic setup. Plus, you definitely want an EOF with a Staff of Armadyl in it. So, I mean, ranged is not as good, but it's
consistent and easier to get into.
It's also the difference in difficulty of maximizing the styles could not be larger. Ranged is so much easier to use than Magic, I think.
Yeah, and just by listing everything off here, I think you've illustrated why that is. And with such a high entry behind that, that's something that I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of if they're just starting PVM or just doing combat in general with Magic. They don't know exactly what they're walking into. So,
yeah. Greeko is a great purchase, and you should feel good about it.
Yeah, I've been having really good success with ranged, and I honestly have always liked ranged since I started playing RS. So I don't regret it in one bit, but I see what could be happening, and well, maybe this will be a goal for at some point in the future if I hit a massive windfall somewhere. So, but Janice, any thoughts on this? Because I mean, woof.
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen this, and I mean, yeah, rich get richer, right? I mean, every time that there's a bug or something like that, we'll just write it in. We'll just write it into the meta of it.
Yeah, just like Stand Under Carapac.
We should be clear that this is not players exploiting something.
No.
This is just this is just using an ability. That is how the ability worked. There's no way to use the ability differently. There's no you don't sit on your head and do a dance and then it goes off. It's zero bug abuse whatsoever. And I think that's super important. Whereas I think with 4-ticking, people considered that bug abuse because there was an intentionality behind it. This is just how the ability is coded. It is not on the players whatsoever. So I think that is an important thing to say.
Yeah, I agree. You can find full episodes of RSBNB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.